Well, this is a little weird because it's a Friday morning, not a Saturday morning, but we are up bright and early, me a little too bright and early, to talk The Mandalorian episode 3 of season 2, chapter 11, The Heiress. I am one of your hosts, PJ Campbell. I am joined by the one and only Sean Sullivan. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
I have to admit to something to you, and you already know this, but I'm going to admit it to the listeners and our people watching. I woke up at 9:15 and was like, oh shit, we go live in 45 minutes. And I got ready, and we had like 5 minutes before we were supposed to go live, and you hadn't popped up. You hadn't seen my message. I was like, Sean, are you alive? Without forgetting that I am now an hour ahead of you. And I have been up way too long, but it gave me a chance to rewatch the episode. So I had that going for me, but that's how my day has already started.
I have not rewatched the episode. I saw it last night at late.
Yep.
Early. This morning at early, something. I will be honest with you. I slept through my alarm.
That's why I texted you.
Both of them. How soon after you texted me did I respond?
About, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes maybe.
Okay, so yeah, I'm glad you texted me.
Me too. I like your cup. It's a nice cup.
It's bright and early.
Yeah.
This has been sitting on my desk, and I remember washing it, so I figured instead of drinking out of a Red Bull can, I would drink out of...
Yeah, I'm going to go get my energy drink here soon.
My PJ cup.
I mean, it means that I get to be with you at least a little bit.
Why don't you go ahead and you can do that. I can hold this down for a second. Let me find what I need.
Are you going to be doing this thing? That guy right there?
Oh no! I was going to do this one. I was going to plug all the shows we got.
Oh yeah, go for it. Plug all the shows.
All right, go get your.
I'm gonna get an.
Oh wait, hold on. I got to do something. Else first.
God, what are you going to do right now?
Don't worry about it, PJ.
I trust you.
Yeah, you should trust me. It's me. Me we're talking about. Yeah. I only like shenanigans when they're healthy shenanigans.
I appreciate you for that. I truly do. And even the corgis appreciate you, as you can hear.
Oh, Maybell and Dipper. They're my inside men. Hey, you know what? You know what I'm excited about? I'm excited about Box 2 coming up.
3, you mean?
Box 3 coming up. Guys, if you didn't know, this Tuesday, Box 2, Box 3, PJ Campbell, that bastard, decided to edit this episode himself. And while
erroneous on both accounts.
While I think that PJ is a very skilled commentator of movies, I think that PJ is a very kind and charismatic fellow. I don't think his skill with overlays is that good. I think this is a travesty. I think what he made us did might cause a rift in our friendship for a long, long time. This is just fucking erroneous. You know? I mean, chat, what do you think? Should this be our new this is the YouTube thumbnail for those wondering.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I'm showing off the YouTube thumbnail for Tuesday.
I have no comment.
I mean, you made it. I hope not.
I have zero comments to this situation.
But hey guys, tomorrow at what time tomorrow, PJ? Tonight, not tomorrow.
8 p.m. tonight, sir.
We're going to be doing Trading Spaces.
No, that's next week. You're at the wrong one.
Damn it.
You're really good at this.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
That is correct.
Starring John Leguizamo and this white dude with white hair.
God damn it. Sean, this is why I keep you around. We are doing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific time. It's an hour later than normal because there's a Schmodown pay-per-view tonight. We're doing one of the great comedies of all time, and I am excited about that. Oh, my God, look who... Hi, Jake.
What's up, guys?
What's up,
Jake,
man?
are you in an office?
I sure am on an office.
Wait, hold on. Why do I have half of a brick wall behind you?
He tried to
I
do it,
have
bro.
no idea. Whoa, that's a little weird.
Jake
see
has
if I
no
can-
brick wall.
There we go.
Yeah, so we are doing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles tonight. The late, great John Candy, Steve Martin, John Hughes film. Super excited about that. Again, 8 p.m. tonight because of the Schmodown pay-per-view. Monday night, we are doing the night before because we have to get a little bit of Jewishness in the Christmas festivities of the holidays. There's not a lot of movies about Jewishness, and I'm really glad that we have this one. Then next Friday, we are going to be doing Trading Places, not Trading Spaces. Thank you, Chris Clark. And Coming to America. It is a double feature of Eddie Murphy-like proportions, which I'm very, very excited about. And that's pretty much that, except what's happening this weekend, Sean?
This weekend we are doing the Smash-a-thon. It is a 28-hour live stream that I promise you we have a full plan for. We're all ready. The link is here in the chat for the YouTube channel upon which we are doing it. It's gonna be. Oh, Brandy's way ahead of me. Fucking.
As always.
By the way, if for those of you that are wondering, Brandy will have mod powers for the Smash-a-thon because I don't think we could do it without her. We need to appoint some mods. I don't know how to do that on a YouTube channel, so I'll let the people that know more than me do that. But we're kicking that off at 3:00 with myself, Mark Ellis, John Roca, and Frank Janish. I don't know what we're doing. I'm sure there will be alcohol involved. Then we've got Schmobates, and then we're going to have the Cinefanatics, and then we got Gucciverse. We're just going to roll through all the shows. Gucciverse. We got the Ultimate Schmodown podcast coming up the first night. We've got Machine Mondays, which I'm calling it that. It's probably not going to be Machine Mondays, but it's Janine, Frank Janish, Miss Movies, and Abby Friel. All of them are gonna have a nice. Brandy, I guess I should have talked to you about that before, but you did come up in conversation yesterday. Someone asked, "Who should we have as moderators?" I said, "Well, I trust Brandy with my life." But yeah, we're kicking off midnight with Video Drew and Friends, a new show by Video Drew, the Video Drew and Friends Hour. I'm sure it's just live in the dark, but I'm calling it Video and Drew and Friends. Overnight, we're doing the Holocron with Jake Berlin. I think you're going to be on the Holocron, right?
I
We're
will
doing
be.
the Holocron with Let's Get Ready Crew, PLD, Kelsey from Call to Action. Star Wars show going to be a little more question-based than normal, but I will probably crash that one because if I'm up, I like talking about Star Wars.
It's like that's why we do this.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I wore a hat today. I don't wear hats.
Yeah, you took
Real
my
good.
hat. It's weird. Like I usually wear that. This.
Let's see. We're kicking off the morning with the Who Are They podcast. I think that's the name of the podcast. That'll be at 7 a.m. Then following that, we've got the Schmoes of the North, followed by a very special PJ Campbell Network Unwind.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Current guests look like it's going to be PJ Maxx, possibly Mike K.
I do love Mike K.
Good. I'm glad. I've never actually met the guy aside from in our chat.
He and I drank together in New York. It was
Maybe we should. Maybe next time we send him a Zoom, we should send him a link so I can.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We actually are really bad at sending Zoom links to literally everyone.
And then we got and then maybe that could be a new Patreon tier. We just send you a Zoom link whenever we do Zoom calls.
Yeah, not wrong.
Where was I? PJ Campbell Network. Current guest Mike K. Sabrina Ramirez and Jason Inman, and Jason will be talking about his other charity he's doing this weekend. I forget. It all falls apart after that. I think POV's next.
POV, yeah, we're at 11. Yeah.
Championship reaction match. Then call to action, chill to action. I don't know if they've announced their guests, so I don't want to announce it, but they're going to have
Tim's not wrong.
They will have John Kaiser and another guest. You can fill in the blank who the other guest is if John Kaiser is the first guest.
It's John Kaiser's devil on his shoulder then.
No, I think John Kaiser is the devil on this person's shoulder.
Okay, that's fair.
And then there's some other shows, but at the big one is at 3 p.m. Pacific on Sunday. We're doing a huge Inner Geekdom family game night, Chris Clark style. Alex Damon, Mike Kalinowski, Robert Parker, Chance Ellison, Laura Kelly, and one other person whose name is escaped. Oh, Brandon Hanna.
Well, there's a reason that name escaped you, to be fair.
And that is all hosted by our very own Maxwell Haddad and Haddad. Maxwell Haddad. I'm learning to pronounce it. And Rachel Cushing. So that's the big penultimate event of the night. Then we're just all going to drink and be glad we survived the event.
Yeah, we got this. It's going to be fun.
That went longer than intended. I apologize, but we're talking about a 35-minute episode, so I'm glad we fluffed it a little bit.
Well, I mean, knowing us, it'll still run long. Jake, how are you today, my friend? I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's I was able to step away from work for a little bit to talk some Mando. I got to talk this episode because this episode's crazy.
This episode is
crazy.
It's incredible. I'm glad that you're here because, I mean, you, like us, you love Star Wars. I know that you've watched Rebels, and there's just so much to break down as the two shows kind of converge together in a very interesting way.
Where do we? So I think this is going to be the new thing that I want to start all these episodes with. Where do we rank this in terms of Mando episodes?
Well, it was funny. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Well, I put it out on Twitter earlier. I think it's my favorite out of all of them.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting because the first thing I said to Sean when we hopped on to get ready for the call, I was like, I'm going to take a wild guess that this is either your favorite or your second favorite episode of the series it's had so far. And I was not far off. He's only seen it once. So I know you.
Well, here's the thing, right? If you excluding this episode, my top two episodes so far have been Kylie.
Oh my god.
My top two episodes have been the Marshall and whatever chapter 3 was called.
The Heiress.
Those are my two favorite too.
The Heiress is chapter 11.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking of this season. That was my bad.
9, 10. Yeah, Heiress is chapter 11. Chapter 3 of season 1.
Got it.
And those are the
Chow's episode.
And those are the two with the most Mandalorian ness in them. So yeah, this one's definitely up there. I don't know if it's rank 1 or rank 2, but holy shit.
Yeah, and of course, guys, if you're here, you be aware this is going to be a completely spoiler-filled conversation. So if you haven't seen the episode and you're trying to avoid spoilers, this is not the place for you because there's so much to break down and so much to talk about in this. But I was thrilled. Number one, welcome back Bryce Dallas Howard in the director chair, her second episode of the series, second overall direction in the Star Wars universe. She needs a movie right away. Did
she direct the action, do you think, or do you think they had someone else come direct?
No, I think she definitely directed the action because I thought she did a really great job. She did the 4th episode last season.
Yes.
If I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. And that was the 7 Samurai-esque episode. So she had already showed very good potential as a director. And I think she came around even more this time. And dude, she crushed it.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw it was her at the end of the episode, I was shocked because it was the action was so intense and I don't really know her as a super hard action director.
Well, I mean,
really she comes any kind of director, but
I mean, remember, she comes from a line of family members who do direct. Her father is Ron Howard, and he is also known for, quite a few action adventure type films, and I think it comes natural to her. She's also great with character work. Jake, what did you think?
Yeah, I think she is quietly becoming a favorite of mine. And to what you guys are saying about her directing, she's only actually directed 2 movie style projects. The only other director project she has is actually a documentary.
Yep.
And so the 2 Mandalorian episodes are actually the really only movie-esque things that she has directed ever. And she's crushing it. The storytelling is kind of what I get from her. The action is great, but she is really good at telling a story. She did that last season with her episode because it was a far departure from everything we had learned. She introduced Cara Dune, which was a big deal. And then in this episode, obviously, the storytelling and the lore mythology that's revealed in the episode was done brilliantly. It also helps when the episode is written by Jon Favreau and they collaborate on it. So, I think what she is able to do so far and having no real experience going into this, I mean, it's a big mountain to climb, but she has well surpassed it so far.
Can I just say I'm glad we have Jake here because he's a lot more awake than we are.
That's why we keep Jake around.
Here's the truth. I was up at 2:30. I woke up, watched the episode, and then and I went back to sleep for about an hour, and I've officially been up since about 5 o'clock. So,
I mean,
yeah, I love it. Someone had to be awake
about a half hour ago.
This is a true story.
Yeah, it's already 10:20. So let's talk. So this episode is fucking good. The opening shot of the Razor Crest limping to the planet gave me some very serious Serenity vibes.
I had the exact same thought.
Not the one with Matthew McConaughey. Like when they tear up Serenity.
Terrible.
When they tear up Serenity to make it look like a Reaver ship. Like that's what the Razor Crest looked like, down to the fucking engines. I mean, the engines on the Firefly or on the Serenity and the Razor Crest are the same. Like,
you're not wrong.
That was good to see. That was good to see that because I don't think we've really seen anything like that in live action Star Wars yet.
We really haven't. I mean, that's for the most part, as far as Star Wars is concerned, live action. Most of the ships are pretty pristine looking, or if it's been Rebellion tech, it's been a little bit dilapidated, but it still looks functional. Like it's never looked hamstrung together, if you will.
Yeah.
So this was kind of fun.
The Rebellion aesthetic of dirty does not mean broken.
Yeah.
I think the closest we can say in Star Wars live action so far is the Falcon getting destroyed in Solo.
Yeah,
fair. Oh yeah. That's
probably the closest, but it was still functioning fine. It just was wrecked on the outside.
Yeah,
right. And of course, that was directed by Ron Howard, Bryce's father.
There you go.
Yeah. So we land on planet. It is an aquatic planet. We get lots of Quarrens, lots of. I can remember Quarren, but I can't remember Mon Calamari. Come on, Sean. What the fuck?
And it was the planet, the moon of
Trask.
Trask. Named after Boulevard Trask.
Yes, absolutely. Of X-Men fame.
From the X-Men. Peter Dinklage himself. So I mean, it was pretty cool. It makes sense that the frog people would be there. I still did not understand whether or not the frog people are a dying species, a uncommon species, or what, because I know that's been some hotly debated.
You mean Egggate?
Egggate, yeah.
Yes.
And I would like to come out and say it. I'm going to come out and say it here. I was an early adopter of Egggate, and I would like to retract my statements. I don't think that what the child did is okay, but I do not want to align myself with Egggate. Their views and what they hold dear to them, no, I can't even say that. They have a good point, but still, last episode I had talked about Egggate before I knew Egggate was a thing, and sure enough, that blew up this week.
I was gonna say, I said it last week, and it kind of still stands. Honestly, I'll take Egggate over literally anything else in Star Wars fandom. It's nice that the thing we're arguing about is whether Baby Yoda should have eaten an egg or not.
Well, I think there's another
very true.
argument. I think there's another argument that's going to come up this season that I'd rather have a discussion on that when Maxwell's here, because I think he's the we can accept that Maxwell is the more
That's correct. Tim is right. They never said they were endangered. It's the last of our family, not the species.
right, and I understand that, but still, because it's a species we've never seen, and because it's a species we've never seen, and because of the framing, I think it's still a possibility that they may be not endangered, but at least an uncommon species. You know, we see a lot of. Go ahead.
It could be very similar to what we're seeing with the child. He
Right.
could be the last of his kind. He could be endangered. I mean,
Right.
we don't know. It's just kind of that big question mark.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Yoda and Yaddle never come out and say, the last of my kind I am. You know. But yeah, so I love seeing some old school Star Wars aliens. What's interesting is that Trask seems to almost only have Quarren and Mon Cala.
I noticed that too. It was a very interesting.
There was no, like, we could have put one Nautilin or one, like, you know, Kit Fisto-y type or a Kaminoan, or there's plenty of other aquatic species that I think they could have thrown in there. And I think that's kind of a missed opportunity. I wonder, I have to look at a star map. I'm kind of curious whether or not Mon Cala is in the Outer Rim, because I don't know. I don't think of Mon Cala as the Outer Rim, but maybe it is.
It very much could be. And to your star maps point, I don't know if you guys remember Rush Hour, but star maps, get your star maps here.
Hey, I practically live in Hollywood. I've got a stack of star maps. I'm lying. I don't. I don't.
The reason you don't is because you've been giving them out on Hollywood Boulevard. I've seen.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so there was another trope in this. Wow, I said I was tired, and now I'm just like,
you got this, bro.
Charging forward. I got this. We're talking about Star Wars. There was a trope in this that I don't know if you guys caught. There was a D&D trope in this episode. Now, Jake. I do that to you guys all the time. I do that to Master PJ too. I'll just get the name wrong. My brain couples things together, and that's how I remember things. So you and Brian are coupled in my head, not like in a sexy way, just in a
fair enough.
You know,
this is the quality content that our viewers are here for.
There's kind of a film on my energy drink now. I don't think I washed my PJ Campbell mug well enough. Jake, have you seen our new PJ Campbell mugs?
No, I have not. Oh my God.
Oh man.
Molly David.
What's up, Molly? What's up, Molly?
So there was
Molly, just so you know, we're 30 minutes into the episode and we've talked just about the Razor Crest limping 2 tracks so far.
And fish people. We talked about fish people.
And Egggate.
And Egggate. We talked a little bit about Egggate. So D&D trope. They gotta go meet the informant in the tavern.
Okay.
D&D trope there.
I straight up thought you wrote this episode because it felt like you,
dude,
as a dungeon master.
I think if I were to write an episode, this would be this might be it. But poor Cresty. So yeah, I mean, anything else on that basic premise before we get to the boat?
Well, I mean, it's kind of falling in line with what we've seen before of the Mandalorian still kind of going about his business and finding, he really just needs to find more of his kind because he's trying to get the baby back to their people in the Jedi. And we've seen now time and again, he kind of wanders into town, very man with no name. And I like that. I'm liking the Western trope still, and it works very well. I loved Baby Yoda being hungry again. He was looking at the eggs and he was like, look, I'll feed you. And he gets the chowder. And that line, stop playing with your food, was my favorite as the little squid thing jumped on his face. I thought that was, it's just little moments like that that really work in the show. And it's kind of the reason I like the show so much is in the movies, you can't get little moments like that all the time because the movies have 2 hours. 2.5 hours at most, usually, to really like lurch forward and do what they're doing. So little character moments like that really stand out in the show itself, and it just made me happy.
The one thing I will point out about that scene is kind of interesting that they kind of are oscillating between how Din, and I think this is from director to director, and I don't think it's intentional. The way he refers to the child is often disparate between episode to episode. So in this, he's like, my friend, and later he calls him a pet. Now, I think he calls him a pet in response to someone else calling him a pet, but it just is kind of interesting to me where, like, he clearly cares for the child, but the way that they're from a script writing standpoint, it's kind of a little jarring sometimes for me.
I think the friend thing is more in line of the idea that to strangers, he doesn't want to say that it's the child. He's more trying to be like, they're in a bar and he's got the kid. So he's like, this is my friend, instead of being like, this is my, essentially my bounty or my child. He's just trying to be like, this is my friend, feed my friend. Like you're trying to put people off the scent, as weird as that might sound. Jake.
I will say to the whole tavern point, I don't mind it because, like PJ said, the whole Western vibe is like really, really cool, and I totally dig it. But I wouldn't have minded if they did step into a different setting, like maybe he went to go find this informant on the docks somewhere, or seeing like a different side of it, because just the small shots we saw of what Trask. Oh, there you go. Just from what we saw of Trask, very shortly of like the docks, it was a very interesting place. Like you had the AT-AT was turned into a crane, and like there's a lot of cool things that could have been like shown. But I get what they were going for, and again, it doesn't hinder my enjoyment at all while I'm watching the episodes.
I think it's a totally fair assessment, to be honest. Like, again, they're totally going for the samurai Western vibe, and we both dig it. But also, you're not really wrong where I'm like, I could see him going and searching out informants and stuff, too. I mean, maybe we will see more of that. Brandy asked, okay, question, did Baby Yoda grow up into the child, or did everyone just decide to rename him? We only call him Baby Yoda because he looks like Yoda. He's the same species, and he's a baby. This is like roughly 5 to 6 years after Return of the Jedi, so Yoda is dead.
Remember, Brandy has never seen The Mandalorian.
Season 1. She says she saw season 1 earlier.
I don't think so.
She watched it with my rewatches on the Whiskey Jedi.
Okay.
I don't think Brandy's ever seen The Mandalorian. She just digests it from us and Jake.
I appreciate that. That's why Brandy's the real MVP here.
Brandy, we got to get you to watch The Mandalorian. Okay, so the AT-AT crane. I'm curious if that is a like Rothana heavy engineering product. I think that's who makes the AT-AT, or if that's like these people took a damaged AT-AT and converted it, or the New Republic is now repurposing old AT-ATs, or what. But that was pretty cool. Sasha Banks.
Yes.
Sasha Banks shows up in a hood.
That's correct.
Disappears. Tell me why I should care about that.
I mean,
about that scene?
Yeah, because that is here's my problem with that scene. In this episode, that gets lost to me. We were about to glaze past it, right? Everyone's talking about, who's Sasha Banks going to play? There's this cool shot of her in the trailer where she disappears. Guess what? That's the only shot of her in this fucking episode. Why do I care? I don't.
Well, we see her under the Mandalorian, like later in the episode.
I 100% agree with Paul.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah. So it connects. It's just like a tease, like something's gonna happen here very soon.
I didn't realize that was the same.
Yeah.
She was the other Mandalorian. Okay, my bad. I'm fading.
It's early, Sean. It's early.
It's early. I watched it way late.
But no, I mean, look. Let's.
Dad jokes. God damn it.
Before we get to the goodies, which is obviously coming, did anybody else like scream out in horror when the monster swallowed the child?
No. I was actually going to bring that up. So once we got on the ship, it's the Mon Calamaris. And here's another thing. We've done this twice now where people are trying to steal the armor. And I'm really hoping, again, not a dig at the show, but I don't want almost every other episode to be like, and now someone's trying to steal the armor because it's worth money. Like,
well, so I think that is important.
it works. Don't get me wrong.
Well, but Beskar is. So, let's talk role-playing games here.
God. So, real quick before he starts doing that, what I liked about this was the Mon Calamari, though, really setting up this idea that, have you ever seen one of these things eat before? You should really watch it. The child would really like this. And Din plays straight into it.
Yeah.
And it becomes almost straight out of a role-playing game where they push the child into the mouth of the monster and then Mando in too. And yeah, I audibly screamed when it happened. I was just like, what the fuck? You don't feed the child. But the thing that I love too is very similar to the first episode, in just the quick second of Baby Yoda hitting the button so it closed, and he would stay safe from whatever danger is happening. And it was actually really, really well done moment. And then knocking Din in right after. It was almost very horror movie-esque too. It was a good beat.
Yeah, I really liked the design of that monster. And Jake, to answer your previous question, I didn't, because personally, they're not going to do anything to Baby Yoda. When all is said and done, they're not gonna kill that kid. They won't. Baby Yoda will be fine. It kind of loses in a show like this. The stakes for Baby Yoda are kind of lost on me. I think the stakes are going to come from basically every other character. I think that they can and will kill off every other character. I wouldn't be surprised if Din himself dies at some point. But I just don't think that. I don't think the child is in any danger ever in this show. And because of that, no, it's lost on me. I think that using the child as I think using the child, putting the child at risk, I think is good for giving stakes to Din, because the question then becomes, what is Din going to do to get the child back? Not what is going to happen to the child. Because they're not going to kill the dog.
It's very fair.
I've seen a lot of
Very
movies
fair.
that kill the dog.
But those movies are movies where they definitely will kill. Like John Wick is a movie that, okay, yeah, they'll kill the dog in this. They're not going to do it in Star Wars. But I think that the Mandalorian armor thing is really important, because it shows a difference between this season and last. Last season, when he was being attacked by hunters, it was in order to last time it was when he was attacked by hunters, it was in order to get the child. In this season, it's entirely for the armor, because once he's out of that small circle that he was in last season, he's gone beyond that this season. Once he's out of that small circle, they don't know about or care about the child. But Mandalorian armor, that fetches a high price. So this book, Edge of the Empire, No Disintegrations, is the bounty hunter expansion for this game. Now, it is the first book to introduce. It is the first book to introduce Mandalorian Beskar as a piece of equipment you could buy for your character. In this game, I think it's something like 20,000 credits. You can get a suit of plastoid armor for 200 credits. So just to give you the difference in price, Mandalorian armor is fucking expensive. It's worth a lot. So it would make sense that, yeah, anyone with a bit of a dark past who's willing to do something for that armor, that's a huge payday if you can get a hold of it. So yeah, I think that makes sense. The armor is probably more expensive than the Razor Crest. Especially with a jetpack, with weapons, all that stuff. It's brand new armor. You don't see a lot of brand new Mandalorian armor. Most Mandalorian armor you do see in Star Wars is passed down from generation to generation. This is brand new. We saw it get made, last season.
You make an excellent point, my friend. Okay.
So I think that is. I actually think that's good because that's adding an element of it is showing what how valuable that is, how important it is, and it's showing that these places he can't trust anyone. He's on these outer rim worlds where it's all criminals and scum, and even the fucking fishermen are out to get you.
Well, and I think that's what made that sequence so great too, because when he goes to the little pub canteen at the beginning and he's asking for information and help, I didn't suspect that the barkeep was actually setting him up, and I don't know if the barkeep knew. So I thought that was an interesting twist on the situation, is that he went to a Mon Calamari who he trusted, and that Mon Calamari decided to almost double cross it.
Well, and there was also an interesting bit of foreshadowing there where he asked the Quarren, "Can you take me to more of my kind?" And the Quarren says, "Yeah, it'll cost you."
Yeah.
And sure enough, it did, and he took him to more of his kind. So Bo-Katan and Costco Reeves and Wolf something or other, Axe Wolf. The other guy's name was Axe Wolves.
Yeah, Axe Wolves.
That's badass.
Axe Wolves. That's a name. Kids,
it's a very cool name.
I'm gonna name my first child Axe Wolves. They show up, and choreography wise, there's a big difference between how I'm going to call them the Night Owls for right now, or the true Mandalorians. But I'm going to call them Night Owls because for a reason. There's a big difference between how the Night Owls and the Watch fight. And you can clearly see it here. We see it a little bit in the Clone Wars, but not really because it's animated. The Night Owls are very acrobatic in their flying style, and the Watch, if you compare this to Chapter 3, when they're on their jetpacks, they're almost stationary. It's like comparing Iron Man 1 flight mechanics to Civil War or Endgame. The way Tony is a lot more just acrobatic. I think that's really interesting that they were able to capture that in live action as well as they did. Sorry, random tangent.
No, that's what we do here, and it's a great point. Yeah. Axe News sent Axe Wolves smells like fucking Alpha Moon.
I would. I mean, it makes sense, and I think that for specific reasons, for what we know of past for Bo-Katan and all these characters, specifically the Watch and what Bo-Katan has done with her clan, you have to be able to interpret that to us viewers to make sure that we know that they're two different things. Because color-wise, they look similar, right?
Yeah.
It's a very similar look, especially the two next to her who were basically all in blue, which was a very Death Watch thing. Yep. So you have to be able to differentiate the two and make sure that people know that these are two different things going on. And then we get to the dialogue piece that happened a little afterwards that even more so for us makes us realize now that where Din came from was completely different to where Bo-Katan and her people are now. So
yeah, I was going to bring that up. I thought it was really interesting the way that they kind of handled that, and the idea that Bo-Katan and them kind of look at where he came from as a cult on Mandalore. And so it really does kind of create a bigger divide that I like. And it's the thing that we've talked about a lot on this show, is that Din, as this goes along, is going to find that maybe this is the way is not exactly the way he sees it. And it's going to be a very transformative experience because he's been seen this way since he was a kid. And so you're kind of deprogramming and becoming a different person. And it really set up that he still has a lot to figure out in this world, because just because you leave the helmet on or take it off does not make you less of a Mandalore or Mandalorian than maybe he thought.
Yeah, and I think I mean, we've all talked about how the show is, and it always has been, but more so now, is slowly starting to become more and more about Din finding out what it is to be a Mandalorian.
Yes.
And it's not in, and before he thought it was, all about the creed and, you do it, this is the way. And now it's starting to kind of become this thing where it's more so how you act and how you do things as a Mandalorian, more so than what you follow. And even though we've known about it, this is kind of like the bonk on the head. And this is like really going to start like this turn for Din on what he's thinking as a Mandalorian. And I think this is the moment where we start to realize, okay, when does someone like the Armorer come back and play? Because she is the one that put that in his head.
Right.
And so that's going to be a very interesting transition whenever that does happen.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what I've said, from the beginning. I've been saying this is what I want to see. I want to see the Children of the Watch. We've got a name for them now. I want to see the Children of the Watch come in conflict with the true Mandalorians. That's a Legends term, but I'll use it here because it's relevant. I want to see them come into conflict with the true Mandalorians, because the true Mandalorians are, that's what we're used to seeing. And everyone's been saying like, oh, well, why you can't take off your helmet? Like, no, fuck you. Yes, you can. Whatever these people are, they're a very strict adherent to Mandalorian code.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way anymore. There's another line, and I brought this up in Chapter 9, our Chapter 9 episode. There was a line in Chapter 9 about that, and I forget what the line was, but it made me think, well, Mandalore is destroyed. And maybe I brought this up on the other after show I do, but and not here, but I'll say it. There was a line in Chapter 9 that made it sound like Mandalore was destroyed. Here, Din says it's cursed and uninhabitable.
Mm-hmm.
Any who go there die. And Bo says, don't listen to what the Empire tells you. They want us separated.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting, and because that was something that I keyed into the first episode, and I was like, okay, well, what the hell happened? What is the purge? Now it's a lot more ambiguous. But yeah, I mean, the whole, as soon as she takes off her helmet, number one, holy shit, that looks like Bo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's brilliant.
Like,
it's so on point.
The hair's a bit too, I think the hair color, I wish they would have gone with a little bit more natural hair color, because that's Bo-Katan's hair color, but it's also a cartoon. So you can, tone that back from the bright fucking orange. But, or like whatever color red that is.
Can I read to you guys real quick one of the worst headlines I've ever seen regarding sort of this episode, by the way?
Yes.
This was on Yahoo. I'm going to call them out. This was their entertainment section. The Mandalorian is officially blending with kids' Star Wars cartoons. Go screw yourselves, because the thing is that Rebels is not a kids' cartoon. It's a cartoon, but this is one of those things that we can talk about a little bit, is that cartoons are not inherently just for kids, and it's just another means of storytelling. So I think that's a big misunderstanding of everything that Rebels is. Number one, that show is not aimed at children. It is aimed at Star Wars fans. It was just another means to tell that story.
Yeah.
Well, and even Clone Wars later in its life kind of got that way too. I mean, remember Pre Vizsla got beheaded in that show.
Right.
Like, that's typically not a kid's cartoon where that happens.
No, I would say Resistance was the only one that was straight up aimed at children.
Yeah.
So I just felt like that was such a disservice to what Rebels was, and especially with what we're talking about, because this is not just blending a kid's cartoon. This is taking Star Wars lore and really like everything we got in Rebels and building on it into the next round of where this is going.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Rebels is some of my favorite Star Wars content. I like Rebels a lot more than I like some of the movies.
I mean, I don't disagree with that.
It is what it is. Bo looks great. I love, and I already made my comment about the fighting style. The Gozanti Cruiser. Let's talk about the Gozanti Cruiser. This is one of the things that I nerd out about on Star Wars is ships. The Gozanti Cruiser we see briefly in Episode 1 flying above Tatooine in the distance. That is the only time I can think that we see it in live action. It might be in some shots of Rise of... No, it's not in any shots of Rise of Skywalker. I looked for it, and I was... maybe it is. Hold on, wait. Do we see one in Rogue One? Do we see one in Solo?
I honestly don't remember.
I'll look.
Now I have to go back and look. But this is our first real look at a Gozanti cruiser in live action. We do see them in Rebels, and we see a variant of them, the Sea Rock, in Clone Wars. So it's pretty fucking cool to see this in Rebels. It is one of my favorite large freighter ships. In Rebels, we get to see it with TIE fighters docked under the wings. If you guys are forgetting where we saw it in Rebels. But the detail on this model, this is one of the most detailed ship models I think we've seen in a long time. I mean,
It looks incredible.
It looks
really
fucking incredible. We got to see them storm that fucking ship. I love the scene of the Gozanti raising up from the dock, and then you just see the 4 Mandalorians on their jetpack cruising up to it. I'll tell you what job I don't want as a stormtrooper. Standing on the guardrails while the ship is taking off.
Yeah. I mean,
by the way, it was in Solo.
It was, okay.
It wasn't.
It was not in Rogue One, though.
It does not say anything about Rogue One.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
I would have assumed it was in Rogue One and not Solo, but
yeah, me too. We also have to keep in mind that this is television visuals too, and it looks that good. Like I don't think it's
television visuals though.
Well, yes, I mean, you're right. You are right because it has millions of dollars behind each episode.
I think this series looks better than Rise of Skywalker.
There are definitely moments where I think that too. I would agree with you. And this is one of those moments because the cruiser itself, I mean, you had mentioned the detail, not just on the outside, but also the inside. Every time they step foot, whether it's on the outside or inside, is incredible looking. The distance shots, I love the shot where Din is piloting it up from the water. That shot looks incredible. I mean, it's a really, really good looking ship.
There's some really interesting effect they did on the engine wash for this episode. I'm not sure if anyone else caught it. There's a bit of a helix coming out of the engines, which is just that kind of goes to show that the detail they put into it. If you guys rewatch the episode, and I'm sure you will, take a look at the engines in that scene. There's a really interesting effect that they've never used in a Star Wars that I loved, and I don't know what it was about it. I'm just like, oh, that's cool, you know. But yeah, I mean, that whole storming the bridge, the interactions between at the start. There was one thing I did notice in this was the way that the 3 Night Owl True Mandalorians worked in perfect synchronicity, storming the ship, and Din was in the back the whole time.
Yeah.
So we got to see Din watch them work together because Bo says a comment that Bo mentions that Mandalorians are better united. And then immediately after, we get to see them working in concert, you know, completely working off each other, storming the ship. And Din, for the most part, he's in the back and he'll just take 1 or 2 shots, you know, and they're just, you know, pistols out, blasted everything, and perfectly working together. And it wasn't until the end that Din was kind of like, all right, cover me, and then gets blasted to fuck. Now, Jake, you had a question earlier. If you were worried about when Baby Yoda was eaten. I'm going to ask kind of a flip side question to that. Do you think that the way that they've made Beskar completely indestructible takes away some of the stakes for when Din is in a fight? Because he got shot up like crazy in that last hallway scene.
I mean, for me, it's never crossed my mind.
Okay.
when I've watched, and I also had to keep in mind that those are stormtroopers shooting him, so maybe they're not hitting him in the right spot.
But I mean, that's I mean,
but no, they were blasting the hell out of him, and he was taking some hits. But I don't know. I think at some point they're going to have to do something to where it makes him look like he's not indestructible. Whether it's someone who's a little bit of a smarter fighter than him, or someone who gets a shot in a specific spot, or something. Otherwise, you're right. He is essentially an indestructible robot who can, charge in any situation with Beskar on and not get hurt.
Because I would have liked to see if this was if we fast forward 4 episodes from now, 5 episodes from now, and he is taking off his helmet after because he gets torn up by those repeating blasters.
Yeah.
If this was a point in the series where he was taking off his helmet, and he takes off his helmet and he is completely bruised and damaged and beat to fuck from those blasters, I think I would have been a little bit more, like, okay, yeah, we're seeing the risk here. He can, the blaster bolts aren't gonna burn through him, but they're gonna hurt him because he was definitely in pain getting shot. Regardless of the armor, not getting damaged from the shots, he's getting damaged under the armor.
Yeah.
I'd also like to take the moment to shout out Titus Weavler as the Imperial head on the ship.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
He is one of my favorite character actors, and Titus Weavler.
Bosch.
There we go. Yeah, Bosch. He's in all sorts of things. I love this dude.
Sons of Anarchy.
Much. And when he popped up, I kind of actually squealed a little bit because it was just one of those moments where it's like, this is why The Mandalorian is so cool. They get so many different actors who just pop up from time to time that you love, and they kind of come out of nowhere. And so it was just a nice moment. He's such a perfect Imperial officer type, and just the way he plays it so cool, calm, and straight was just awesome. And also want to shout out the fact that one of the pilots was clearly very British, which is another kind of throwback to the original trilogy where so many of the Imperials were British officers and things like that. So it kind of brought it full circle in a cool way also, but it was something that really popped off to me right away where I was like, one, Titus is awesome. Good to see him, but just nice little tie back to the OG trilogy.
Yeah. I really like him as an actor. I like the other Imperial officer. I don't know the actor or whatever. He's like, close all the doors or close the doors.
Sir, he's from Parks and Rec.
Sir, which doors? I don't know, all of them.
Yeah, that dude is from Parks and Rec, and he gets a perfect character moment in that. It's very comedic, which was perfect.
Yeah, and the whole, all right, we have him trapped. Well, where do you have him trapped? Cargo control area. The what?
Well, and again, adding to what Bryce Dallas Howard can do as a director in capturing that type of scene, like those scenes are hard to tell sometimes.
That felt like a very Rebels moment to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is something that would happen to the crew of the Ghost.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna get beat because they're trapped, but they're trapped in the right spot, and it's done very quick, and not too much for laughs, but it's still funny. I don't know. That felt like that felt very Star Wars to me. Can you hear me okay when I'm leaned back like this?
You're fine.
Yeah. I do want to ask though, because Bo-Katan obviously had a much bigger presence in the episode than we probably thought she would. Do we think that she will return this season?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I mean, I have to think so. I wouldn't be shocked if we see both her and
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, but why am I blanking on his name from the first episode?
Oh, Cobb Vanth.
Yeah, Cobb Vanth will be back too. Like we're gonna see all three of them, I think.
Well, this gives me a little bit more of a
Welliver. Thank you.
Again, what we said at the end of chapter 9, where I think we could see Din forging his own clan. I think him meeting Bo-Katan is more evidence that he might fold someone like Cobb Vanth into his clan. And I would like to see that. I would like to see that with Cobb Vanth, with maybe not grief, but and say what you will about Cara Dune, that's a whole other controversy discussion. The character of Cara Dune, I could see him bringing into his clan. And interesting, we kind of have a parallel for Cara already in the Children of the Watch, because the way Cara fights and the way Paz Vizsla fights, both of them with the big, heavy, repeating blasters, very much are a parallel. So that might have even been an allusion to, hey, maybe at some point we'll see Cara in the armor, and here's your template for that.
That's very possible.
That's very interesting. I really hadn't thought about that, and you may not be wrong.
PJ, I think of a lot of things.
You do. I thought it was also interesting that obviously, like, he teamed up with them because he's still, the whole thing of trying to find the Jedi. He knows that they can lead him to him, and then she changes the deal, if you will, which leads to the scene you were talking about in the hallway, because Titus's character is gonna basically take this ship down and crash land it. Like, the Empire, or what's left of the Empire, has no time for dealing with the Mandalores who keep stealing from them. So they're just going to try to kill them no matter what.
Yeah.
Which to a great moment when they finally got in the cockpit and he kind of did what you kind of seen in like World War II movies or like war films, where someone has like a cyanide pill and he kills himself to stop giving information. All of this leads to the fact that, as we know, Bo-Katan's looking for the Darksaber.
Kylie, I think that would be the best way to handle it.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
I like her character. I really like the character of Cara Dune. And that is all I'm really able to say. Because I don't know. I barely even know what she said. I know that whatever she said is, not great. But I'm not even fully. That's why what I said earlier, like, there's some other controversy that I'd rather have Max on to talk about, because I know Max is a little more well-versed in that kind of stuff. Yeah, I do think they need to recast her. I think this season there's no getting around it, but I think next season they just need to recast her.
I would agree. And I know that she had said below that she thinks that they should recast her with a LGBTQ representation, just to kind of prove a point. But after this episode, I thought to myself, I go, man, if Sasha Banks' character doesn't have a big role, I would have really loved to seen her as Cara Dune.
Yeah.
We also don't know, by the way, what happens to Cara Dune. For all we know, she's killed off this season. Like,
that's true too.
Like, that's the thing. And I think that Disney being quiet on it has not necessarily been a good thing, but part of the reason they may have been quiet on it is strictly because they don't want to be like, well, just so you guys are aware, the character actually dies during the season. And again, this is just me speculating. Like, they don't want to have to spoil a twist that turns out that character dies.
Well, the other thing too that I will quickly say, I work for a big corporation. I'm pretty low on the totem pole of that big corporation, but information travels slowly, even within our division of the company. Like, man, it is hard to get an answer from higher up. Disney and Lucasfilm have so many moving pieces.
Yeah.
And they've also been burned by acting too fast before. Look at the Taika Waititi shit. I'm not saying that, hey, give her some credit. I'm saying that Disney might have cold feet on saying something. I also don't know that it is their place to say something, because if they just end up recasting her, their actions are going to speak louder than their words. And I would rather see them act with action than act with words.
Right.
So if they recast her or they write the character out, that's them making a statement.
Right.
I don't want to see them, because what I don't want to see from Disney, I don't want to see them do what they've done in the past and be like, hey, here's our statement, but we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
Right. And I think actions speak louder than words. And it's actually something WB is currently facing, if anyone's paying attention to what's going on between Aquaman and Fantastic Beasts.
But on the flip side, they're not taking action.
they are and they aren't. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And so that's why Disney right now is kind of in a weird place where do you say something? Do you not say something? How do you handle it? And again, I mean, we've talked about it before. We all agree that Cara Dune as a character is a great character, but we also don't know what happens to the character in the next 5 episodes. Until we have an answer, we can't really speculate on what's next. But yeah. I would hope that if she isn't killed off, that they recast her, because as you can't have something like that as problematic as that person is around still. So I don't want to get too bogged down on this because there's
it's not really relevant to this episode. But yeah, I mean, this whole episode, and I mean, can we say frog people grow up fast?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Well, it seemed like they were kind of like, and it seemed like they were kind of raising one at a time almost. So maybe that's like a process that happens with their species.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't really know what do we think next episode? Do you think we're going to see Ahsoka, or do you think it'll be another down episode? Because we have what?
We have 5 left.
5 left.
So what I think is going to happen is I think Ahsoka will probably be saved for the last moments of the next episode or episode 5. I think we're going to see Greef Karga and Cara Dune do the breakout next episode of Horatio Sands' character on Navarro, because Carl Weathers actually directed the next episode. He came out and said, I directed episode 4 when he's not supposed to. And so I have a feeling that's the episode. And if we're staying in line with what season 1 did, as far as like how the episodes were shaped, because it's been very similar so far, right? We got like a story-based episode in chapter 1, or the first episode, then kind of like a departure in second episode, then back to 3, and then 4 last season was kind of a little bit more of a departure. And so I kind of have a feeling that they're going to stick with it, and then we'll get those characters back in the next episode.
Yeah. I think, I for some reason I was thinking we only had 4 left. I think the last 3 episodes of the season are going to deal more with the Empire again, just like they did episode 1. I'm wondering if we're going to, and again, the question kind of comes in, are we going to get Bo-Katan back? Because if we get Bo-Katan back, there may be some, that may be how we face the Empire, is Bo-Katan, Din, and some more Night Owls going against.
Very true. And people have been wondering what's going to happen with the child when that happens. Maybe we don't see the child at all the back half of the season. Maybe he does in fact hand the child off to Ahsoka.
Do you think that's possible?
I think it's very possible. What, you're going to go fight Moff Gideon, and what Din knows of Moff Gideon with holding a child in one arm?
Yeah. I mean, he'll probably just hand him off to, Greef or Cara and tell Greef or Cara to watch him. But I mean,
I would hope that he would learn by now to not bring him involved in the fight.
Yeah,
because he's gone through enough.
That could also be how we see. That could also be how we see Cobb Vanth again. He could leave the child with Cobb.
That maybe he goes back to Tatooine and drops him off there. That's possible.
All right, so here's my crazy theory. So for the finale, he drops the child off with Cobb, and then Boba kidnaps the child.
Oh,
cliffhanger. It'd be an interesting cliffhanger.
Yeah,
that'd be a really good cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like where your head's at. And I have a question for you guys. I mean,
I should write this show, guys.
Do you think that we're going to see Din take the helmet off at the end of the season, and we're going to
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do. Yeah. I do. I think that we're going to get – I think that Din is going to – well, I don't know. Maybe not this season. I would hope so. I want to see more of the culvert of his group of bandos.
Right.
I want to see him interact with them again, because they had to leave and reestablish a culvert. Are they going to come back? Are we going to see more of them? I don't know.
So I do think we'll see him take the helmet off. I think it's going to be a transition of him adopting what Bo-Katan knows to be a Mandalorian. And this episode, for me, what happened with the dialogue as far as the child of the Watch and stuff like that. It really made me think of the Armorer as a character.
Mhm.
And I have this gut feeling that once Moff Gideon is over and done with, and whether or not Bubba's in the show or not, that they're going to actually set her up to be a big bad villain. And that she and that clan is actually a new remnant of what was Death Watch.
Oh, I think that's definitely.
And I think it's going to like come out and fold. And I also think, and I've kind of been like sitting on this one, that Armor is Rook cast. And I'm sticking with it.
Maybe.
I'm sticking because she was obviously involved in all that stuff. And I do think that we'll see. Yeah, exactly. And I think that we'll eventually see the Armorer be a villain to Din and possibly Bo-Katan together.
PJ, do you need to know who Rook cast is, or?
I'm good. I do write Star Wars questions,
Okay. This isn't a movie question.
I'm literally just listening to you guys. Like when you guys go this deep, and I love Star Wars. I just have fun listening because I have like I look at things structurally, just kind of but also
I will tell people in the chat who Rook cast is.
Yeah, go for it.
Rook cast is the in the end of the Clone Wars in the most recent season. Rook cast is the female Death Watch Mandalorian who is beside who fights on the side of Maul.
Yeah,
she's got the Maul spikes around her helmet, which are the same spikes that the Armor has. I think that's a very good.
Her and Gar Saxon.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Darth Maul, did you guys see the story that came out? And I know this is Mandalorian talk, but
yes, I did.
Did you see that story about Lucas's original sequel trilogy and Maul being the big bad? That would have been so fascinating.
Wild.
I have a feeling we're going to talk about that tomorrow on Gucci because Saul is obsessed with that story.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because you can kind of see it. Like that was part of the reason that when Lucas was still involved in doing Clone Wars, he was clearly setting up that him coming back and stuff was to do more. Of course, then he left and Filoni did Rebels and decided to kill him off, which it worked within itself, but that was because we'd moved on from whatever it was. I just thought it was very interesting because that would have been a very different take on what we ended up with.
Yeah, well, and also you can even be like, well, the ending of Solo probably made him really happy because he was a crime lord.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of that movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that could have been really good. I would have liked to see that.
Kylie, you hate what?
I don't know. She might hate the Maul.
Maybe. I think it was brilliant. I think that would have been awesome. And again, they definitely pulled from it in Solo, making him a crime lord and things like that. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yeah, he couldn't touch Sidious, but
Sidious, they were also going for something very different with this. Like he was going to be a crime lord. Yeah.
40 years prior.
Yeah. So this is a very different time. Like him being the big bad of this trilogy would have been very cool because we would also seen something very different. Like one thing that I like when we do Star Wars differently, kind of like with Mandalorian and Rebels and things like that. I like when you go down rabbit holes that we haven't seen. I don't want the same thing all the time. Part of the reason that Episode 9 doesn't work very well is the insistence of bringing back Palpatine. We didn't need that. If you had a crime syndicate and things like that in 7, 8, and 9, you could have done something very cool that we hadn't really seen.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have the Rebellion versus the Empire again.
Right.
Which, like, the prequels aren't the Rebellion versus the Empire. They're explicitly not that.
Right.
The prequels are almost a little bit of a World War I scenario of like, the powder keg in the Balkans triggering something without Franz Ferdinand dying. But we won't get into world history. Join us on the PJ Campbell Network World History Chat around the globe every Tuesday that BoxBox doesn't air. No, I'm kidding.
But really,
we're doing that. I also think, and this isn't a shot against Rey because I love Rey as a character. Sidious in his prime, Sidious when Sidious fought Maul would destroy Rey and Kylo blindfolded. I mean, Sidious at the height of his power is a fucking monster. Joey, welcome to the chat. I don't know why I throw my arms up like that. I'm wacky, wavy, inflatable tube man. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else much there is to say about this episode in general. So,
well, let me ask this: Did you guys like the name drop for Ahsoka? Like just blatantly saying, "Hey, it's happening."
Yeah, I loved that because I mean we've all kind of known, right? It's been one of the worst kept secrets about this season was that we were gonna see Ahsoka. We're probably gonna see Rex. But I loved that we heard it, like said out loud, and I got chills when she said it. Like even though we knew it was happening, I was like, "Fuck, it's really happening!" And how cool is that?
Maybe it was my fatigue when I watched this episode, but I didn't like it. But part of that is because we knew it was coming. I think if we didn't know that it was going to happen, if I didn't, if we didn't hear all the rumors,
if it was a surprise,
if it was a surprise and we heard Ahsoka, what I wanted out of that moment was the end of Rebels season 1 when Ahsoka shows back up.
Oh,
I can see that,
which blows me away.
Same.
Even when I rewatch that, her showing up, coming down into the cockpit of the Ghost it blows me away every time. Yeah. I was really hoping for something like that because the crew of the Ghost doesn't know who the fuck she is. Not even Kanan knows who the fuck she is.
Right.
Like even Hera, who knows her as Fulcrum, doesn't know who she is. Right. And that's kind of what I would have liked. But us as fans, we definitely do. That's kind of what I would have liked out of that moment. And I'm kind of sad that we got to hear so much about it. It was great to talk about it leading up, but I mean, if we didn't know,
you aren't wrong. I think the problem is that post season 1, I think now that we kind of knew the trajectory it was on, we're going to be at this place now where unfortunately, a lot of these bigger sites like THR and stuff, they're going to find the thing that's happening versus before where they kind of shot everything in secret and just kind of let it happen. Mm-hmm. Like we actually knew most of the directors this time around before it had been announced, which was something that didn't happen last time. And for better or worse, we knew it was coming. And you're not wrong. And I'm not trying to argue it, but I think that there's also, I don't know if I can really blame it just because it's where we are as a entertainment gluttonous society.
We can't anymore.
Yeah. So I just took it. I wish it had been more of like he didn't know the name, just go to this place and you'll find the Jedi, kind of to your point.
Right. And then we could find out ourselves when we get there.
Because to be honest with you, something that had crossed my mind is we know that Lucasfilm has been looking to do a Mace Windu series with Sam Jackson. What if the idea had been that it wasn't Ahsoka Tano first? What if we had seen Mace, who had still been alive?
Tell me.
Look, man, I'm just saying it's something that we could possibly have seen. So it could have been an interesting reveal that we didn't see Ahsoka first. You know what I mean?
I rewatched part of this episode. I said I watched this once. I jumped into a Discord chat last night at 1:30 a.m. or 2 a.m. and with a certain Schmodown after show. And someone in that group brought up, oh, well, we don't know that, Sam Jackson has said Mace Windu survived. I'm like, literally go fuck yourself. Mace Windu, I swear to God, if they decide that, Mace Windu's been alive the whole time.
I'm just saying, I mean, we don't know. And anything's possible in the Star Wars universe, right?
Yeah, I get it.
And so that's why I'm just saying you never know. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It very likely isn't. And that Mace Windu series could likely be something that he's back in his capacity where it's more flashback type stuff. And maybe it's set during the prequel era and he kind of bookends it. We don't know. Lucasfilm has a history of that. In Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, Harrison Ford came back for an episode where he talked about his events in Chicago with Al Capone. And so you never know. It was just something I thought about because you don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be Ahsoka Tano right away. We don't know how many Jedi survived after Order 66. That's all.
Yeah, but I just hope it's not. I love the idea of Jedi surviving. I think that I still prefer Luke being the only survivor. Beyond this is a whole deep conversation that
It is, and it all pertains.
PJ, maybe we should just start a Star Wars show.
I keep thinking about that. Not gonna lie to you guys.
Well, maybe we can do an infrequent Star Wars show, and we can talk about that kind of shit. I like the idea in Star Wars that at the time of Empire Strikes, or at the time of A New Hope, Luke is the last hope for the Jedi. Now, whether that means that Ahsoka's off doing her thing, or Ezra's off doing his thing, or Cal Kestis is doing his thing, they are not available for the events at large against the Empire. I think the more Jedi you add to that are still alive, right? Like let's say 5 years from now we get a bunch of content and some of it says, oh, this Jedi survived 66 and this Jedi survived 66. I think the more Jedi that you have, once you get to about a dozen Jedi, and eventually we're going to get there.
Yeah. I mean,
it gets harder to justify why none of these Jedi are involved. Right? It gets harder for me to justify, well, Yoda's sitting on Dagobah and he clearly can communicate with other Jedi while he's on Dagobah. So why is it happening like this, and why are the Jedi not banding together?
Well,
because if you've got 3 or 4 Jedi that are even remotely worth their salt,
right? You're not wrong, and it's like the superhero problem, right? MCU and DCEU both face this. Is so X thing is happening on one side of the world. Why is only one Avenger dealing with this?
Right.
When other Avengers exist, and it's how much of yourself can you put aside that feeling and be like, okay, I understand this is X's adventure and other people are doing things. It does get a little convoluted though, because you start to think about that. It's like, if the Jedi are out there, shouldn't those Jedi technically be banding together, especially if the Empire is falling, right? So it is a question of, and I know that, again, this is about Mandalorian, but it's all kind of, it ties together because we're talking about the fact that Ahsoka's coming in and coming back. So what does that mean for Jedi as a whole? And we know that Luke is also currently training Jedi in this version of the timeline. At least that's what we should be led to believe.
Hey, I've heard about a scout team. I've never been on one, so I don't know what that's like.
Are you bragging about yourself, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
so
I know I pretend I don't know sports ball, but I've got a championship ring, so we'll talk about that later.
Ooh.
Jake, have I ever told you about this?
No, I don't think so.
Um,
all I'm gonna say is that I would love to sit and listen to a PJ Campbell Network Star Wars show and later hear this discussion.
Jake.
I think you'd have to be on it. Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think you'd probably be here because I think we all like Star Wars just a little bit.
Yeah. If it's not here, maybe I'll do it on. Maybe that'll be the. We'll do a PJ Campbell offshoot where it's just PJ Campbell Network people on my YouTube channel, so I have an excuse to use my YouTube channel. I mean, yeah, it.
Oh, got him!
Shots fired.
See, Jake, the problem is you already took my premise of drinking while we talk about Star Wars.
It can always be turned into the Whiskey Jedis.
Yeah,
I know.
Let's do it here. It's fun. I'm just saying.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, great fucking episode.
Yes.
I probably will rewatch it after this. We're gonna watch a cut of Box after this, but then we're gonna.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much as always for being here. I think we had a lot of fun breaking down this episode of Mandalorian. A lot to talk about, a lot of setup for what's to come. Give Bryce Dallas Howard a Star Wars movie ASAP. Do you guys have anything else you want to add before we get the hell out of here?
Yeah, actually, something you just said. Give Bryce Dallas Howard a Star Wars movie. How would you feel about an anthology series on Disney Plus? Where they just do like, they give Bryce like, hey, look, Bryce Dallas Howard, you've got an hour. What Star Wars story do you want to tell?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea because we have 2 books right now from a certain point of view that already do the anthology thing where we get different perspectives. I think that, obviously I'm a huge fan of the Twilight Zone, so anthology storytelling has always been very appealing to me. And I think that Star Wars is in desperate need of shaking things up at times. And we're seeing that with Mandalorian. We're seeing it with some of the shows they're talking about doing. I think we desperately need to jump around time frames, show different sides of Star Wars, do different things. I think an anthology series would be a perfect way to do it. Just call it from a certain point of view. Like,
even if they did little 4 episode season, we get 4, 45 to 1 hour episodes.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, it's like you can do it like Mike Flanagan's Haunting series on Netflix.
Yes.
Per season, story by story per season. You don't have to worry about doing 5 or 6 seasons.
I don't even need seasons. Even a one episode, like they do. Hey, here's this season, and we get 1 episode, and it's Dave Filoni's Clone Wars story, where he shows us what Delta Squad was up to during the one mission of Delta Squad, and then we get an episode with Bryce Dallas Howard, and it's Bantha Raiders on Teth or something. Just give me 4 unrelated fucking stories. Give me the Ben Quadraneros origin story.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think that there's definitely a time and place for that. And I think, especially with Disney Plus, now is that time and place. As we've seen before, God damn it. I think it would be a ton of fun to do it. But I think that we've already seen them laying the groundwork with the certain point of view books that we could do stuff like that. So why not expand on that in a live action format? Look, even Marvel's doing it, right? They're doing What If as an animated series.
Very true. Yeah, very true.
And that's
the thing I'd like to see is something like that.
Yeah. So I think that the groundwork is there. I think it's something that we all need and something that we deserve. Why not?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many ways to go. Could you imagine if we'd had like an hour-long episode about? I would love to see more about Qui-Gon's past. Like, I would love a prequel series about Qui-Gon. Don't get me wrong, but even in an episode, just 1 episode.
But it's funny that you bring that up because that's something that we could also have.
I totally missed this, by the way. Look at this long comment from Joey real quick. For the common Star Wars fan that doesn't have their eyes on the web for news, he loved the Ahsoka Tano. Shout out. My wife didn't know. She's only seen the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, and she bawled.
Yeah, so, see, that's the thing. Like, I guess for me, because I'm so tuned into it, it didn't have any impact for me. Like, yeah, I'm super excited to see Ahsoka, but I just wish I didn't know about it going into it. Yeah. What I was going to say was the the anthology series. We might get to see Sinjir Rathvelis on a mission, on a spy mission, being a spy for the Empire. We might get to see Sienna Rhee and Thane Kyrell. We might get to see a full episode of Star Wars Top Gun with Snap Wexley prior to the there's just so much cool shit you can do with the anthology series that
imagine being able to explore some of Order 66 in that. In regards of the Jedi that we didn't see getting killed in Revenge of the Sith. Imagine an entire episode it'd be very dark, but an entire episode about a Jedi who's trying to get away from their clones.
Oh, I got it. PJ, I got it. I'm going to pitch you on this.
All right. Pitch me.
All right. What's his name? Jason Momoa.
Okay.
As Quinlan Voss.
All right.
How he survives Order 66. Now, I would prefer mid-2000s Jason Momoa, where he was still ripped but skinny. The Stargate Atlantis Jason Momoa.
Right.
As Quinlan Voss. But yeah, Jason Momoa is Quinlan Voss. How he survives Order 66.
I wouldn't be against it, my friend. Oh, God, Kylie.
I'm in.
Yes, Kylie. He absolutely can.
I am not against it. I think there's a lot that we could talk about. But at this point, I think we should get the hell out of here. I love that we said, once again, this was probably going to be a short episode that was about 45 minutes, an hour and a half later, here we are still talking Star Wars. I love it. I love that. I think at this point, we should just expect every episode of this is going to be about an hour and a half. And I love it so much. Once again, I just want to shout out our Patreon supporters, executive producers, Brandy Parker and Ricardo Franco, Ruby Tier producers, Brandon Buck, Ferris Muthana, Bador, Molly, Jake Berlin, who's here with us right now, Michael K. and Stephen White. You guys are incredible. Thank you guys so much as always. And I actually believe Kylie is also one. I need to look at the update. This is the old graphic. But thank you guys, as always, for your continued support.
We should see if we can get Molly on one of these.
I would love to. I mean, she was in the chat. I want to have Molly on anytime. I would love to get as many of us on here as possible. I think for the finale, for sure, we should try to get as many people as possible to hang out from the different sides of our YouTube space. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And of course, you guys, if you haven't already, check out our Patreon, not Patreon. Our Patreon, there's a tier for everyone. You can come hang out with us in our Discord. Had lots of fun Q&As and things like that. As it turns out, we do really fun drunk AMAs for patrons. So, come and hang out with us.
I think we're doing one next week.
I think we probably are, actually, because I'll have a little bit of a break between spectacular things. It's almost like a going on right now. Tonight, 8 p.m., we're doing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Again, it's an hour later than it normally would be because we have a Schmodown pay-per-view event tonight. Of course, we also on Monday are doing a watch-along of the night before because this movie rocks. And if you've never seen it, you're in for a really great time. You guys can get an idea of all the stuff we have going on coming up. Next Friday, we're doing a double feature of Trading Places and Coming to America. 2 Eddie Murphy films that are definitely holiday Christmassy movies that you guys are going to enjoy. Box 3 is on the way. Patrons are going to get it delivered to them this week. You are going to enjoy it very much next Tuesday. For everyone else, it is so much fun. With that, anything else that you guys would like to add before we get the hell out of here?
Manda's going strong. Love it.
Yes, it's so true. Jake, where can everyone find you online, my friend?
Twitter at Qui-Gon Jake with 2 N's, and then POV every Sunday. This weekend as well for Smash-thon, supporting everybody. Be popping up in there in a few different places. So yeah. Smash
Cancer. It's going to be incredible. All of us are going to be there in some capacity. Please join us. Again, Kevin Smets is a dear friend of all of us here at the PJ Campbell Network. He's a dear friend of the Schmodown community. He is in for the fight of his life right now. You guys like stage 3 colon cancer. We want to make everything as easy as possible on him. So all this money that we raised this weekend going directly to him is to help him try to be able to get the rest he needs, to have the support he needs through this. It's not going to be easy, but we're here for him. Please join us for the Smash-a-thon. It's very, very important to all of us here.
Jake, did you mention Apocalypse?
I did not mention Apocalypse, but Brandy put it in. Thank you, Brandy. Yeah, you can find me also on Apocalypse Movies twice a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, as well as Fridays. So.
I'm gonna kind of throw some shade at Jake with a complimentary comment. Go figure that one out. I knew Jake had a YouTube channel, another like a YouTube channel he's a part of. I think it's actually his channel, just other people do it with him. Because I know Jake and that's how he works. I had watched some stuff on there. I didn't realize he's got like a couple thousand subscribers on there. And he never fucking plugs it. Jake, you've got a YouTube channel that works. Plug your YouTube channel. Anyways,
I know it's just I don't. It's just
I'm gonna come on there and hang out with him soon too. That's a promise.
Yeah, I would love to have any of you guys on.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Jake. I've almost crashed. I might come crash your episode later today.
Do it.
PJ Campbell Network, known for crashing other people's streams.
Yeah. You can find me at Suit Up Sully on Twitter. Later today, probably in about an hour, The Legend of Sully continues. I will be playing The Breath of the Wild on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Sean Sully. We just beat the tutorial yesterday, which doesn't at all feel like a tutorial. The tutorial on that game is great. So we now are going to go explore Hyrule, kill some goblins, try not to die, while Kristen taunts me in the chat about smashing pots.
I'll taunt you.
But yeah, so that's gonna happen later. PJ, I know you're busy later, but
I'll be around.
I'd love to have you piggyback with me on that because I know how much you love the Zelda games.
I do. Zelda means a lot to me. It's one of my favorite video game franchises. I just love it very, very much. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at PJ_Campbell. You can find me over at the Movie Trivia Schmodown where I write questions. Be nice to the writers. I know that you guys like to try to find fucking holes in everything. Please just be nice. That's all I ask.
I will be judging your Star Wars questions.
You always do. And of course, find me here hanging out with all my favorite people, talking Star Wars, having a good time, movie watch alongs. I love all of you so much. Once again, without you guys at the Patreon, we wouldn't be able to do all this. You guys rock so hard. And with that, we're going to get the hell out of here. We'll see you guys next week talking more Mandalorian. Bye, guys.